Yo everyone, welcome to Zing. So you took your MBTI test and you're wondering what is it about? That's when you have come to the right video because you will be getting a detailed explanation of what the MBTI is about. You will get to understand yourself better and also show off to your friends. I want you to take out your pen and paper so you can take notes along the way, because along the way I will quiz you. Yes, you will be quizzed on this channel, okay? So make sure you pay attention. So it all began back the way to history with a mother-daughter team called Catherine Briggs and Isabel Briggs Myers. When Catherine met her daughter's husband, she got very interested by the way he sees life, and hence she decided to research into different temperaments. They then discovered Jung's theory of typology and got very intrigued by it and decided to develop their ideas into the MBTI test that we know of today. The MBTI test is the most widely used measure of Jungian's psychological types, which measures the attitudes and functions of consciousness. What again? Attitudes and functions of consciousness. These are the two key things to remember. Write that down. Okay, so you know your MBTI consists of 4 letters. So your first letter, I/E, tells you what your attitudes towards your functions are. The middle 2 letters tells you what are your functions. The last letter, J/P, determines which of your functions are dominant and how you lead your outer life. And yes, in case you're wondering, the beautiful handwriting over there is mine. Alright, let's move on to our first section, which is attitude. Now before I begin, I want you to take note that everything exists on a spectrum. So if I say you're an F rather than a T, it doesn't mean that you don't use your brain at all, okay? Nobody is 100% on either side. Everybody has a little bit of both in them. It's just which side you tend towards more. Get it? Okay, let's begin. Okay, so as I have mentioned, your attitude is being determined by your first letter, which is I/E or introversion/extroversion. So the attitude describes the direction in which your conscious energy flows. So let's say if your dominant function is introverted, that means you tend to direct the energy inwards. Likewise, if your dominant function is extroverted, that means you direct the conscious energy outwards. And now we move on to the functions, and this is where it gets very exciting. The function describes how you approach your life. There are 2 main functions that I want you to remember: perceiving and judging. What again? Perceiving and judging. This is super important, make sure you write that down. And within each of these functions, there are subtype functions within each of them respectively. Let me explain. So for the perceiving function, which is made up by your second letter of your MBTI, N/S or intuition/sensing, tells you how you perceive the world and how you take in new information. Do you prefer hard data and facts, or do you prefer theories and ideas? If the former describes you more, then you are more of a sensor. If it's the latter, then you are more of an intuitive. A sensor is described as someone who is concerned with what is real and present and pay attention to the hard facts and details, which is definitely not me, by the way, because your girl here is a blur sotong and you don't need to know that. Wait, why did I even say that? Thus, an intuitive is described as someone who pays attention more to the symbols and patterns behind the information that they receive and is intrigued by abstract theories and ideas. And for the judging function, which is made up by your third letter of your MBTI, T/F, thinking/feeling, tells you how you make decisions. Do you prefer to follow logic when you make decisions, such as, for instance, you weigh out the pros and cons before coming to a decision? Or do you just follow your heart and do what makes you feel good? And how do you manage your relationships? Do you value fairness and effectiveness more? Or do you value harmony more? In other words, to put it simply, do you prefer to follow your head or your heart? And now we move on to the even more exciting part, which is about your last letter J/P, judging/perceiving, and there are many misconceptions about this, which is that if your last letter ends with a J, means you are more likely to be more organized, planned, and structured, whereas if your last letter ends with a P, that means you are more likely to be spontaneous and flexible, etc. I'm telling you, all that stuff is bullshit, okay? I'm gonna tell you what is the truth now. Are you ready to know the truth? Okay, so basically, your last letter tells you which of your functions are dominant and how you lead your outer life. I'm stressing on the word outer life, outer life, outer life, outer life, outer life, outer life. Sorry, I had to get that into your head. Outer life. And that is when I'm gonna test you to see if you were really paying attention from the start. If you are still watching this video, by the way, which is like usually only like less than 10% of the people left. But anyways, bless you for doing so. So do you remember your first letter I/E tells you the attitudes towards the functions of your consciousness. So if your last letter ends with the letter P, perceiving, it means you're going to extrovert, direct the energy outwards, show people your top perceiving function. And do you remember what are the perceiving functions? They are your second letter of your MBTI, intuition/sensing. And what do they tell you? They tell you how you like to take in information and perceive the world. And that is why people with MBTI ending with the last letter P seem to appear to be more flexible, open-minded, and spontaneous, because that is their top perceiving function, and they extrovert it. And top perceiving function is about taking in new information, adapting to new information, rather than, making decisions and taking control over it. Likewise, people with the MBTI ending with letter J, judging, they are going to extrovert, direct the energy outwards, show people their top judging function. And your judging functions are thinking/feeling, which is the third letter of your MBTI. And it tells you how you like to make decisions. And that is why people with MBTI ending with the last letter J seem to appear to be more planned, organized, structured, like they have control of their life. Because their top judging function, they extrovert it, they show it to the world, and it's all about making decisions and taking control of their life, when internally they may actually be a messy piece of shit. I'm sorry if I offended all the J's out there. So essentially, both types could be equally messy or organized. Okay, you get it now? It's just what you like to show to other people. So now that you have all the information that you need, let's combine attitudes and functions together. So within each judging and perceiving functions, thinking/feeling, intuition/sensing, there's an introverted and extroverted version of that. So let's say if you have introverted feeling as one of your functions, that means you direct the energy inwards. And because feeling is a judging function which tells you how you make decisions, so an introverted feeler will think about questions like, does this decision align with my values, identities, and morals? Does it make me feel good before coming to the decision? Whereas someone with an extroverted feeling will think of questions like, does this decision make everyone feel good? And they will be more concerned with the opinions of others because they direct the energy outwards before coming to the decision. Alright, let us now get into interpreting your type. So for each MBTI type, there are 4 main functions. First function is your dominant function, which is also called your autopilot function because you're just so good at it and you're using it all the time that you don't even really notice it. Followed by your auxiliary function, which is also known as your co-pilot function, which helps to assist your dominant function and you're also quite good at it. Followed by your tertiary function, and then lastly your inferior function, which is essentially the one that you suck at the most, and basically the function that everyone should be working on. Now let us take ENFP as an example. Why ENFP? Well, because they are cool. So because their last letter is P, perceiving, that means their top perceiving function is an extroverted one. And here in this case, their dominant function is extroverted intuition. So, intuition as a perceiving function, they like to take in. You can see that when you converse with an ENFP, they love to take in a lot of new ideas. They love to experiment with the world. And yeah, you get what I mean. Followed by their auxiliary function, introverted feeling, which is a judging function, helps them to make decisions that stay true to themselves. So an ENFP is constantly flooded with never-ending new coming ideas, and this introverted feeling, which assists their dominant function, helps them in making decisions that align with their own values, morals, and identity. Then you move on to the ENFP's tertiary function, which is extroverted thinking, which is not really something that they are good at, but it gets better as they mature. And if they use it well, it can help them form logical reasonings and organize all these ideas that they have in their mind, and it's just helps them be a little bit less messy. But if they use it in bad times, for instance, when they have a conflict with someone and they are mad at this person, they may just list out all the list of facts and reasonings on why this person is wrong, and it might be quite intimidating. Then you have their inferior function, which is introverted sensing, and it rarely gets assessed. It is only it only comes out mostly in times of stress. This is when they might dive too deep down into their own insecurities and flaws. So how do I know my functions? Don't need to worry. That one you don't need to memorize. You can just Google it and all the answers will just come out. And then you might be asking, Zing, why when I take the MBTI test, my results keep changing? One moment they tell me I'm an INFJ, and then the next moment they tell me I'm an INFP, and then the next moment they tell me I'm an ESTP. So what exactly is happening? Who am I? That's when I want you to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell, because I will be posting a video and talk about it soon. Also, comment down below what your MBTI is, because I'm very interested to know. Remember to give this video a thumbs up. If you have made it this far, I really want to thank you because you're the real one. Stay home, stay awesome, and stay tuned.